Welcome back to the News at 10. So looking at the impact of the lockdown in Lagos on Easter services. Some churches resorted, as we said earlier, to online streaming their broadcast messages to keep the fellowship alive. It's also afforded family members an opportunity to attend online church services from the comfort of their living rooms. Our correspondent, Chris Lems, reports.
It's one Easter celebration devoid of the usual hustle and bustle of Lagos roads. Ordinarily, worship centers would hold elaborate services to mark the resurrection of Christ. But today is different, as the lockdown to curb the spread of COVID-19 means church doors are to be closed. With that door closed, many more are opening in various homes as Christian family members observe Easter services in their living room. At these altars, church service is being streamed live and they pay attention, drawing inspiration from the Easter message.
It's my prayer that the Holy Spirit will speak to your heart and perfect His will for our lives this morning. In Jesus' name. Amen. Can I hear a better amen?
Amen? These days, all our services in the church, our fellowship, and today's fellowship inclusive, we had to stream in, we had to dial in to watch the live streaming of the church service.
Easter is about giving. Jesus gave. He gave his life for all of us. So I should also give. Just put a smile on someone's face.
Glory be to God.
The case is not different at the Husseini's as it is in many other homes.
There's no mathematical textbook.
Everybody is dressed up for the service, although in their living room.
My God is alive. Amen. He's in control. I am praying, Lord God Almighty, that the night will be permanently over in our lives.
Like this time last year, after we were in church even before 7 a.m. in the morning, we prepare food, fellowship with brethren, celebrating, no boundaries, no lockdown. People were visiting friends. Imagine, even while you are coming, I have to sanitize you.
I really appreciate that we are together. We learn a lot, about ourselves. And some of the things that we don't even know about ourselves before, even the children. So I thank God that at least we are able to share some beautiful moments together.
Amidst the lockdown and the uncertainties of the time, for these members of the Christian community, hope is looking up to the risen Christ, who is the reason for the season. Chris Lems, Channels Television News.
With the lockdown in Lagos, Easter has been celebrated low-key as many observe the stay-at-home order, leaving many fun spots empty. Our correspondent Daridu reports.
Lagos, Nigeria's economic nerve center and the country's epicenter of COVID-19, has been on lockdown for more than a week. And these huge disruptions caused by these efforts of government to contain the spread of the virus is evident on the highways. But malls, parks, eateries and other fun spots have rarely looked this way, especially during the holidays. These parks are usually the playgrounds for children during this period. They are locked and currently not in business. One of them is even a temporary center for COVID-19 briefing. Water recreation communities are also getting hit. We visited the Legushi, one of the fun spots that would have been crowded on a day like this. The business is in total shutdown and Easter is not the same for them as well.
If we allow people to come in, we will not be able to control our people because they will tell you they pay in, they have to do this, they have to gather. So instead of allowing them to come in like that, we just shut down the beach so that we will not have problem through the government.
Everywhere is so dry. There's no one, even gathering of 10 or 2, or even of 4 is not gathered here, you understand? It's just like a village, you understand? A river in the village.
Many eatery services are opened, but dining table service have been replaced with takeout and home service delivery options. As Nigerians celebrate Easter in their various homes, avoiding social gatherings, the effect on recreational business have become more evident, but the government says the lockdown is the most effective way to flatten the curve of the raging virus. Dari Ido, Channels Television News.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has announced 5 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 323. 2 of the new cases are in Lagos, 2 in Kwara, and 1 in Katsina. A breakdown of the cases in each of the states shows that Lagos now has 176 cases. The FCT Abuja 56, Osun with 20, Edo State with 12 cases, Oyo 11, 7 in Ogun State, Bauchi and Kaduna 6 each, Akwa Ibom and Katsina 5 each. Kwara now has 4 cases, Delta 3, while Enugu, Ekiti, Rivers and Ondo each have 2 cases, with Benue, Niger, Anambra and Kano recording 1 case each. A total of 15 persons were discharged today, with 5 of them in Lagos, bringing the total number of those discharged in Nigeria to 85 and 10 deaths recorded. Former military President Ibrahim Babangida wants Christians to use the holy period of the Easter to pray for the country in the era of the COVID-19 pandemic, just as he's asking Muslims to use the month preceding the holy month of Ramadan to pray fervently for God's mercy and reprieve. The General's admonition is contained in his Easter message to Nigerians and first public comment on the COVID-19 pandemic. He commends governments at the state and federal levels on efforts made so far towards managing the spread of the virus in the country. General Babangida says although numbers of cases are still on the rise, the situation is still being kept at manageable levels within the limits of the national health care system. He commends the professional efforts and patriotism of medical officials on the front line, while also cautioning against the blame game. Ebonyi State government has banned the use of tricycles within the state for allegedly aiding the movement of people, despite the restriction on movement within the state. The governor, David Umahi, says the ban became necessary following the refusal of many who were entering the state to stay in their homes. He also warned that the relaxed restrictions for celebration of the Easter ends today. Gatherings will not be tolerated anymore.
On the state-owned palliatives, we will still want to use the figure from federal government, but we will be reaching at least 1,500 people per ward. 1,500 people per ward. So from this list that is being compiled, the state poverty index register, we will use it to distribute our palliatives. Outside that, we'll be reaching the widows through Father Abraham Wale and Stella Ogoke. We'll be reaching the elderly, that think that the ones coordinating it with the local government chairman. We'll be reaching the disabled through the CAN chairman. We'll be reaching religious bodies. I would like the speaker to add the security agencies household also for this. And of course, the widows. This is very important.
Globally, the number of cases and fatalities from the novel coronavirus changes per second. The Johns Hopkins University reveals that more than 100,000 people have died from the coronavirus in Nigeria. The government says it will do all it can and all that's necessary to minimize the spread. But some Nigerians are asking if the lockdown is still necessary. Within the next 48 hours or 24 hours, the president is expected to make another tough decision. What factors are likely to influence the president's next move? to share with us some insights on domestic issues and global situation of the coronavirus pandemic is Babajide Ogusowo, Channels TV's data consultant. Thank you for being here, and a happy Easter to you. You don't look so cheerful. Why?
Happy Easter to you too. Today Christians remember the rising of the Christ. But let's not be quick to forget that the coronavirus has also gotten out of its tomb.
So that's why there are messages of hope.
There is hope. There is hope. We've seen lower fatalities globally. But tonight I'd like to quickly talk about three things. And then if we have time, we'll talk about some more interesting facts. The first is what has happened in Nigeria based on the new update. The second will be what is happening in Africa. And third, let's look at the global situation. Let's start with Nigeria. We've seen the new numbers, 323 confirmed cases since the first case on the 27th of February. But here's what we should focus on. Out of the 323 cases, 243 cases have been reported in the south part of Nigeria. I'm talking about the 17 states in the south. In other words, 75% of Nigeria's cases are located in the southern region. And a bit later, I'll explain why this is important. Now, let's look at what's happening in Africa. In Africa, we've seen over 14,000 plus cases, but approximately half of those cases are in South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, and Morocco. Now, what is happening globally? 1.8 million plus cases.
More than, yeah.
More than. But approximately half of this 1.8 million plus cases are located in three states: America, Italy, and Spain. And that's the summary of what is happening globally in Nigeria and in Africa regarding the coronavirus.
So in the last 2 weeks, individuals and institutions have all been donating billions of naira, to fight the coronavirus in Nigeria. Commendable, but how much progress really is being made in reducing the spread and taking care of those who are vulnerable?
If we start talking about how the money has been spent, has it been spent wisely or not, we probably wouldn't be able to finish that discussion tonight. But here's what I would like to talk about. What you talked about initially. In the next 24 hours, the president will have to make another tough decision. And so let's look at two things that he will most likely consider in making this decision. The first is on the 29th of March, when the president made that speech. In Nigeria, there were only 10 states, including the FCT, that had cases of the coronavirus. In the last 2 weeks, 9 additional states have seen their first case of the coronavirus. So we've seen first cases in Kaduna, Katsina, and Kano. We've seen in the North Central, Kwara and Niger State. In the Southwest, we've seen in Ondo State. In the South-South, Akwa Ibom and Delta State have reported their first case. And in the Southeast, we've seen Anambra report its first case. In other words, in the last 2 weeks, the 9 additional states have seen a new case of coronavirus. But in the final analysis, if there's one thing that the president should consider, it is if we study the chart of the week. And the chart of the week, here's what you find if you look at that. Prior to the president's speech, Nigeria had approximately, and we are moving at the rate of 4 cases per day. Now we are moving at 14 cases per day. Now let me make myself more clear. February 29th to the 27th of February to 29th March, we've seen 31 days, 111 cases, 4 cases per day. Now we are moving at 15 cases per day. And if there's one fact that the president should consider in making this tough decision, it is exactly what is in front of the screen. We've moved from an average of 4 cases per day to approximately 15 cases per day post the president's speech.
So we'll allow him to make the decision tomorrow, at least.
At the end of the day, the buck stops on the desk of the president, as President Harry Truman says.
Exactly. Babajide, always a pleasure having you on the news at 10. Thanks again.
The pleasure is mine.